Hello, friends. Beautiful greetings of the day. I hope all of you are creating wonders in your beautiful lives. So, here I am, Kunal Nagpal, presenting a very beautiful and interesting session in front of you. It is basically the question answer round with the great pioneer, Mr. Antonio Gueters, who is the upholder of the Charter, United Nations General Secretary. So, basically, as we know that the ongoing war, that is the war between Ukraine and Russia, is gradually intensifying at a very rapid pace, and the entire geopolitical crisis across the globe is widening and is gaining pace with each passing day. So the times to come in the near future are actually going to be very, very, very sensitive. Yes, you need to mind my words. The times now are going to be very, very, very sensitive. So here goes the question answer round with this great pioneer, and the key highlights of the answers given by this great pioneer regarding this war are as follows. There is no quick solution to the Russia-Ukraine war, and he hopes the expansion of the UN Security Council, that is UNSC, is quite possible. Obviously, India is fundamental to a multipolar world. So, the United Nations has rarely been more relevant than in contemporary world driven by conflict and polarization, buffeted by the waves of natural disasters driven by climate change, its economy teetering on the brink of recession. So in such a scenario, the United Nations General Secretary and Mr. Antonio Guterres plays a crucial and a very mandatory mediatory role. Recently in India, on a 2-day visit, Guterres spoke about the war in Ukraine, the fight against terrorism, the possible UN Security Council reforms, and more in an exclusive interview with Ms. Geeta Mohan, the Foreign Affairs Editor, India Today TV excerpts. So, here goes the first question to this great pioneer. You actually began your visit by paying tribute to the Mumbai terror attack victims, that is 26/11 attack. Yet, the UN Security Council is still to sanction some of the LET terrorists involved in the 26/11 attacks. China has placed a technical hold for the 4th time against sanctioning a Pakistan-based terrorist. Also, the United Nations is yet to define terrorism. To which this great pioneer answers, it is quite necessary to increase the international cooperation in fighting global terrorism. Unfortunately, we do not have enough of it. When I became the Secretary General, I basically prioritized to create an Office of Counter-Terrorism. It has the capacity to foster cooperation among the states, especially in training and advice on counter-terrorism policies. The problem in having a consensus over the definition of terrorism has a lot to do with the politics, but that does not make it difficult to work together against terrorism. We cannot accept the geopolitical divides to basically compartmentalize the issue. Very, very relevant answer. Now the next question put to this great personality is there a solution in sight to the Russia-Ukraine war? with the Russian annexation of 4 captured territories, has the window for negotiations closed? To this, Mr. Antonio answers, I basically do not expect a quick political solution. I think both sides are convinced that they will win. For the moment, the possibility of cessation of hostilities and political negotiations is not in sight. That does not mean that the people should not. That does not mean that the people should not work for it. We in the United Nations have basically tried to seize the opportunities to win trust to address the problems. After visiting Mr. President Putin and President Zelensky, the United Nations initiative managed the evacuation of civilians from the Azovstal steel plant. We have been working on the safe export of the food products from Ukraine through the Black Sea route. So, we have been talking to both sides and trying to offer our good officers to reduce the suffering. That's a very, very noble initiative being taken by this great personality. And I really admire the steps undertaken by him. Next question put to this great personality is, what is your basic reading of the Russia's nuclear threat? The Russian nuclear security doctrine, which was invoked by Kremlin's spokesman, does not foresee the use of nuclear weapons related to the conflict or to what is happening or might happen here. So, my deep belief is that there is no way that we can accept the possibility of the use of the nuclear weapons. So, this is quite a justified answer. We really cannot afford the use of the nuclear weapons in this ongoing war. Otherwise, this war is going to be a very, very great tragedy for the entire mankind on the planet. Next question put to Mr. Antonio is, India's position on the war has been criticized by many, but most nations like those in the West look after their own interests. Has India been unfairly criticized? To this he answers, we are not judges. I am the Secretary General of the United Nations, not of the West or of India or of Russia. Our role is just to promote the dialogue and understanding and to defend the values of the UN Charter. One of those values is the preservation of the territorial integrity of all countries. When that was violated, I denounced it, as was my duty. It is also my role to have a frank dialogue with the parties to the conflict and with other countries, each looking into the conflict through its national perspective. It's a very upfront, direct and straightforward answer, and I really admire this trait of his to be very straightforward and answer the questions in a very crisp and concrete format. Next question put to this great pioneer is, could there be the United Nations reforms, specifically the expansion of the United Nations Security Council that could basically include the countries like India, taking into account the changing global order? To this he answers, the United Nations Security Council is currently paralyzed by the geopolitical divisions. This is why the reforms are extremely important. amongst the P5, France and the United Kingdom have been open to reforms, but the three biggest ones were very reluctant. But the United States President said in the last General Assembly that it would make sense to add one country from Latin America and one from Asia as the permanent members. The Foreign Minister of Russia said that Brazil and India would be welcome as the permanent members. I hope it will be possible. It will take some time, obviously. It will be complex. Obviously, India is one of the two countries with the largest population. It is the fastest growing economy in the world, and recently it has been declared as the fifth largest economy in terms of the gross domestic product, replacing United Kingdom. It's the great victory for India, especially in the ongoing sensitive times of the geopolitical crisis worldwide. So, coming back to the session, Mr. Antonio says, obviously India is one of the two countries with the largest population. It is the fastest growing economy in the world. It is fundamental to a multipolar world. Very true. Next question put to this great pioneer is, there are protests in Iran against the imposition of the patriarchal norms. What would you say to those who impose hijab against the will of women like in Iran, and those who ban it against the women's will like in Europe and in the Indian states? To this he answers, we basically live in a male-dominated world, and our obligation is to fight that. This is a question of power. Power usually is not given. It needs to be taken. It is the time for women to take the power to be able to live as they want in any kind of society. And this is the basic essence of the overall development, of the holistic development of any society in the entire world, because women empowerment is the key to the societal empowerment. A society where gender biasness is a thing of the past is the basic key, or the basic mechanism to help the society to progress in true terms. Now, the next question asked to Mr. Antonio is, you attended the launch of Mission Life, that is the Lifestyle for Environment, India's efforts to fight climate change at the individual level. Do you think the world is ready to deliver on the climate change? To this he answers, no. The world is not delivering. We are basically losing this battle of climate change, of fighting against the climate change. That is why this initiative is very important. We need a bottom-up approach. We need each one of us to take this noble responsibility. And here I would like to bring into picture the Sustainable Development Goals set up by the United Nations a few years back, wherein nearly 193 member countries had taken part. And actually, as per the facts, that is as per the recent report by the United Nations, India's performance has been really highlighted in terms of the performance of other countries towards the fulfillment of the Sustainable Development Goals. Obviously, India also lacks in certain Sustainable Development Goals like hunger index. but the overall progress of the Indian economy towards the fulfillment of these 17 sustainable development goals has been very relevant and has been appreciated at a global level, and this thing needs to be a matter of great pride, and all credits goes to the charismatic leadership pattern of our country. And I hope this session was quite productive, wherein Mr. Antonio Gueters, who is the upholder of the Charter of the United Nations Security Council. So I hope this session has been quite productive, and you would draw very interesting insights regarding the geopolitical crisis currently going on, and the very important views of the United Nations regarding this ongoing crisis. So that's all for today. Thank you so much. Namaste.